I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So now do roll call. Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Martin. Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Faticante. Here. Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
Miss Martin. Mr. McHugh.
Here.
5 present, 2 absent.
Okay, thank you. Under special order of business, first Spotlight in Excellence, we have Karina Rivera from the Rogers Middle School, student in class for Safety 101. I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Yes, Karina Rivera is a student at the Rogers School, and when she saw an unsafe condition, she didn't just sort of sit back and think that there was nothing she could do. She exercised great civic engagement, and she identified a problem, talked to the school resource officer at the school, Officer Sergio Maldonado, and together they identified a way to fix the problem of parking on 2 sides of the street next to the Rogers School, which was created an unsafe condition for youngsters when they were arriving or leaving from the school. And she persisted and pursued, and with Officer Maldonado's assistance, brought that all the way through the city government. And today, there is parking allowed only on 1 side of that street. And so she took a dangerous situation, and with the active encouragement of her teachers and support from the school resource officer, she brought a successful conclusion. So we want to just celebrate her civic action and her sense of her own efficacy, her own ability to make a difference. So I wonder if she could just join us so that we can congratulate her. Is she here?
Yeah, would you like
Yes.
to come up, Karina? Is she here? We won't make you talk, we just...
I'd just like to say thanks to my principal and to my Sergio Officer Maldonado, because I guess they helped me a lot, and they put the safety of our school and our staff members first, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks, Karina. Thank you. Second Spotlight of Excellence, we have appreciation for Kevin McHugh. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, I know your colleagues will have lots to say, but I wanted to, school committee member McHugh has been on the committee the entire time I've been in Lowell, and I have benefited enormously from his wise counsel, his valuable questions, and his focus on what's best for students. And I know you have your family with you, but we have a little video that we would like to share with you, Kevin, with your family, and with everyone here. So I'm going to ask Jack to start that off for us.
Should we shut these off? Should we shut these off? What do you think? I can't reach them. Thanks.
Since being elected in 1998, Kevin McHugh has served on the Lowell School Committee as a model of dedication, respect, and focus. Throughout these years of service, he has put his energy, professional skills, and experience into creating a better learning environment for the children of Lowell. Among the areas he's spearheaded are issues surrounding alternative education, the use of technology in our schools, student athletics, appropriate discipline policies, and making sure our school buildings are safe and well maintained. Here now is but a small sampling of Kevin's work throughout those years.
The second motion by Kevin McHugh, motion to discuss some discipline problems that have been brought to his attention at the various schools, seconded by Ms. Fataconti. Mr. McHugh.
I too was very upset that a student could assault or stab another student and not be expelled, where I looked through the handbook, and for a mainstream student, they are subject to expulsion immediately. After some, investigation, you understand the special needs students are on an individual education plan, and this plan, if it's not the correct one, if something happens, they get it reevaluated, and a new plan is then put into place. It just seems like a long, drawn-out process. I just don't think it's fair. I don't understand what type of message that we're sending to other students in the school system.
Motion by School Committee Member Kevin McHugh. The superintendent provide the school committee with a report on student absenteeism and tardiness at Lowell High School.
So I'd like to get a report as in-depth as possible as far as, showing us the absenteeism, showing us the tardiness, and then what are we doing? Are they, if they're tardy after so many days, are they given a one-day detention? And are they going to the detention? And if they don't go, what are we doing at that point? I'm not looking to try to really punish students here, but I'm trying to get students in the classroom, because that's what our job is, to make sure that they're there to learn. And I know there's some partnerships here with the parents having to get involved, but hopefully we have a record to show that we're outreaching to those parents to make them aware of their child's situation, because if they're not there, they're not going to learn.
Next motion by Mr. McHugh, request a detailed report on the number of suspensions and arrests at Lowell High School, including the freshman academy for this school year compared to the 2005-2006 school year. Report should include what disciplinary steps have been taken and the current status of these students who have been suspended and arrested for the 2006-2007 school year.
Especially with the freshman academy, there's tend to be, this year I noticed earlier on, a lot of incidents over at that building, and we want to ensure that we're providing a safe environment for our students over there. And what is the follow-up, I guess, I'm really looking for at this point, so we can just at least have a dialogue to ensure that, those children have been dealt with properly, and there is a process to get back into the school, and they are meeting all those needs to get back in. Thank you.
Okay, the next motion on this evening by Mr. McHugh, a report on the status of the technology program and how this program plans on keeping current with the technologies, seconded by Ms. Fataconti. Mr. McHugh.
But also there's one important piece I think that's missing, and that's actually how are we going to continue to stay current with technology? What plan are we taking to integrate and actually, I want to do it in a very fiscal way, that we're responsible here, that how do we upgrade old computers that are outdated, that can't be used anymore, that are, in one school they were talking about they don't even use the internet because it just takes too long to get on the internet and then to start bringing up those web pages that you would get access to.
Next motion by Mr. McHugh, superintendent provide a report on technology, listing the number of computers by school as well as age of computers, and also list any technology issues that any school may be experiencing, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Mr. McHugh.
I think this information, it's technology, purchasing and issues have always been part of it. We haven't seen anything lately. I'm not really looking for, I think in the past they used categories A, B, C, Ds. I'm kind of looking for years. How old are they? I mean, they just kind of clump them into these groups, so I'm kind of really trying to get the sense for where we are with our technology and how old is it, and then also if there's some pertinent issues that we should be looking at, and maybe not buying actually new computers, but maybe some other hardware issues that we should be looking at. I'd like to see that kind of in a global report. Thank you.
Next motion by Mr. McHugh, that the superintendent prepare a report on the 2 school renovation projects as to the construction schedules, seconded by Mr. McQuaid. Mr. McHugh.
Just briefly, I know we are now currently had some groundbreaking. If you could just put together like timelines as far as the schedule of the projects and when the work's going to be done. So, the only concern is that we're not, interfacing with the children what work is, and there are none of those issues that as far as the safety of the children are going to be compromised at all. Thank you.
The first motion is by Kevin McHugh, that the superintendent and her staff provide a report on the safety and security of our schools. Seconded by Ms. Fattacante. Mr. McHugh.
I'm more concerned about not necessarily just the high school, but all the schools, and what plans are in place, what this person has done in their 1 year now anniversary to implement changes that are going to improve the safety of all our students as well as the staff, because across the country it seems there's copycats and there's instances happening, and if we don't take the precautions now, we could be next, and that's what I'm trying to do, a preventive maintenance plan here. So I'd like to get some type of report back within maybe 30 days about what this person has done, and an overview of that position as well. Maybe give a job description as well.
The motion to request that the superintendent explore the feasibility of establishing an alternative program for disruptive students at the elementary level and report back with recommendation.
But again, I think we're missing the piece, and the piece is the early intervention, the way I look at it, and that's the elementary schools. We need to get to these children as early as possible. Under the current system, it seems like we can either try to deal with them in a regular classroom or push them from class to class till they get to the middle school, then we deal with them on a problem. I'm sure we all know once they go to a middle school, they've already identified who the problem children are. So what's my idea is, as part of this is to start as early as possible and remove these children out of the classroom. And again, I'm open to suggestions as far as how that's done through the superintendent, doing a feasibility study here, whether it's more cost effective or better to put them on an off-site, but hopefully that at this young age that maybe something on-site would be the answer.
Motion by Mr. McHugh. Request that the superintendent provide a report on the effect of the new special education regulations that have been adopted by the legislature. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Mr. McHugh.
I'd like to get a full report as far as if we could get a copy of what those changes are in detail, and how and when this will affect us at the Lowell school system. And I'd also like to see a plan as how we're going to attack and look at those changes so we are prepared that we are not going to jeopardize any of the services needed for these children.
The motion is offered by Mr. McHugh that the superintendent and her staff review the policy on the use of school facilities. Seconded by Mr. Mendonça. Mr. McHugh.
We can serve up to 110 children in our program, but we can't because we can't get the space. So through our efforts, we've somehow managed to, I think, resolve it again this year, but we're juggling space needs around. So for the future, I'd like to see the policy to really see, maybe this was put in place some years ago, and we revisit the policy, make sure the priorities are right, because to me, serving the children is what our buildings are about.
Offered by Mr. Leahy and Mr. McHugh that the superintendent prepare a report for the school committee on the status of fall, winter, and spring coaching positions. Seconded by Ms. Fattacante.
So we can also get an update of all the coaches that we're going to have for this fall, this upcoming winter, and into the spring. I know we approved some new positions, and I saw that they were actually in the paper, so I'm not sure if we can get any type of update where we stand with the process, because I know that there'll be some new teams this year with new coaches, and it would be nice to get the full list, but also find out actually where we stand with any openings or if they've all been filled, so we get the youngsters out there on the field.
One of the things I most appreciate about how you've carried out the role of member of the Lowell School Committee is that you've known when to be serious, you've known when there are serious issues that we're working with, but you've never lost sight of the fact that there are things to smile about, to be appreciative about, and to laugh about. You have asked really good questions. I think the school system is better for your service, so thank you.
Kevin, I just wanted to come down and say thank you. You put in a lot of hard work over the past 10 years, and and we couldn't have done it without you. All the issues you brought up over the years, especially uniform policy, you were very passionate on it. Unfortunately, we didn't agree, but what can I say? You put 100% into the school committee, and we're going to miss you.
Kevin, it's been a true pleasure working with you for the last few years. I appreciate the input you've given me as a parent and as an educator and as someone who cares deeply for the education of children. You've been a great resource to me personally and to the school system and the youth of our city. I wish you and your family a wonderful future, and I hope that all your future endeavors are as successful as you have been as a dedicated member of the Lowell School Committee.
The expertise you brought as a administrator in another district was hugely helpful, certainly not just to me, but to the committee as a whole. And I think that the time that you were willing to take away from your own career and from your family was really just, it was a wonderful gift that you gave to your colleagues on the school committee and to the city as a whole, having made this school district really a much, much better and more progressive one over the course of your 10 years on the Lowell School Committee. So I thank you, and I will miss you, and I will certainly be looking forward to still working with you in different capacities in the future.
Kevin, I've had this opportunity today to thank you for all your help and your guidance. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I wish you much success as you go on to other venues and other opportunities. And I hope I can always consider you a resource as I do my work here in the Lowell Public Schools.
Hey Kevin, I want to congratulate you on 10 years of outstanding service to the City of Lowell and to the Lowell Public School System, especially in the areas of really creating and enhancing our alternative school programs, which is a benefit to all of our students. I appreciate working with you for the past 2 years, not only as a colleague, debating and working on particular issues, but also developing into a friend.
Good luck and congratulations, and thank you personally for being a school committee member. I know my kids who go to the school system here are in a great school system because of the work that the whole school committee does. But want to thank you in particular and wish you well. Thanks.
Kevin, I want to thank you for your 10 years of service to the Lowell community and to our children. And I also want to thank you on a personal note for your kindness to me and your encouragement, especially during my first 2 years in office. And I'd like to say, enjoy the evenings at home with your family. You've deserved it. You made a wonderful contribution to your community, and I appreciate it. Good luck, best wishes. Thank you.
Kevin, it has been a pleasure working with you. I have enjoyed learning from you the past 16 months. I have learned tremendously from you, whether at the subcommittee on discipline and alternative schools, or as a committee as a whole. I have found your professionalism and your dedication to students to be unparalleled.
Hey Kev, it's Regina. Listen, I gotta say thanks for the past 10 years, my friend, for your work on the discipline subcommittee, for your work on special ed, for your work on the safety subcommittee. It has truly been an honor and a pleasure to work with you. And look it, buddy, I got one thing to say. What happens in San Francisco stays in San Francisco. What happens in Disney World stays in Disney World. But Kevin, New Orleans, between the BOA, Connie Martin shoes, and John Leahy's friend, man, that is a story that has to be told. Listen, you take care of yourself, and thanks for your efforts on behalf of the school children of the City of Lowell. Thank you, Kevin.
The parents of school-age children, the citizens, and most importantly, the students of Lowell all feel a deep sense of gratitude and respect for Mr. McHugh and his 10 years of unselfish service to our school committee. Tonight, we all join in thanking him for the time he's devoted and the single-minded focus he's provided in making our schools and city a better place. Surely, the schools and the city are stronger today as a result of his service, and we will move forward building on all the work he's accomplished.
Thank you, and I know at the end of the meeting I'll get to say a few remarks, but all I can say is I knew this was coming, but I'm pretty touched by the kind remarks for everybody. And I did notice, can I go back 10 years? I had more hair. But I'll save my remarks at the end of the meeting for everything else. But thank you very much for the putting together the film and those very kind remarks. I'm really touched by it. Thanks.
Regina, Ms. Faticani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is my honor and privilege to have served with you for 10 years, Mr. McHugh. You have served with distinction. And yes, he and I did agree on the uniform policy. We agreed on the discipline policies, we agreed on SPED policies, we agreed on safety policies. And Kevin McHugh used a phrase that, after he used it a few times, it really began to ring true with me. And that phrase, Kevin, was, if kids aren't in the classroom, then they're not learning. And whenever we talked about students being tardy or students being absent, Mr. McHugh would bring that up. And I thought, man, it's just such a simple idea, but it's so true. And I think that sort of wraps up Kevin McHugh. Ideas that were very true, ideas that were very honest, ideas that were really workable because they were true and honest. Your commitment on the issues that were important to you was unwavering. And on behalf of myself, at least, it has been an honor and a privilege to work with you. And I do have the privilege of presenting you with a little something from your colleagues here in the committee. And it's not a boa, it's not my shoes.
Kevin McHugh, member of the Lowell School Committee, January 1998 to January 2008. So thank you very much.
Ms. Martin.
Well, I think as we kind of launch, we should do all of our appreciations at one time, and they certainly would take up far longer than our typical meeting, but I'm going to do my best to be brief. Just to say, you've been a wonderful neighbor, extremely helpful and kind. I think you've been incredibly generous with your expertise, and I think you've been incredibly genuine in your commitment and your real focus on improving the quality of education in this city. There's really nothing else one can ask from a colleague than one who is kind enough to share their experience and their talent, and one who really does always remain focused on the ultimate goals of the district and keeps in mind really how critically important it is to the futures of all the children who live in this city and who attend our public schools. I just want to say that I think it's been a wonderful experience. I have to reiterate, to have the kind of humor that you do has really brightened up some literally dark late evenings, particularly during negotiations and during some very challenging times that we've all faced collectively as a committee. I think you were really a huge asset in helping us to get through things in ways that allowed us all to remain respectful and congenial and be able to do the work at hand while still recognizing that there is so much to appreciate in each other as committee members. And that certainly has been of real value to me. So I thank you very, very much, again, for being such a good neighbor.
Mr. Leary.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Vice Chairperson. I want to echo regarding what Ms. Martin just said, especially regarding sense of humor. And I think we spend a huge amount of time in negotiations, getting out at 3:30 in the morning at some point, and just when some of these trying times when you're ready to strangle somebody, and I think you can look over at Kevin, and then we'd find something funny about that particular moment. Issues come, issues go. People differ in opinions all the time, but I think the two most important things that you have to look at as respect and ultimately friendship. And I'm glad to, after really 4 years of knowing you and 2 years working with you, again, it's some long nights, I can call you a friend, and I think that's more important than even the issue. So I want to thank you very much, and I appreciate your friendship, and I know that will definitely continue. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just speak from up here. I just want to say, Kevin, thank you again. And as Jim said, you've become a great friend over the years, and all your work is much appreciated, and we're going to miss you. Thank you very much. Okay. So we're all set with that. So we'll go to the acceptance of the minutes, regular school committee meeting for December 5th.
Move approval, Your Honor.
Seconded by Ms. Martin. Next, we go to permission.
All those in favor?
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now we move to the permission to enter. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, one contract that I'm recommending this evening. This is a contract for Kerry Gillis for $15,000 to provide training for staff at the Laura Lee Alternative Program, focused around implementing a balanced literacy program and providing staff with modeling of lessons, classroom visitation, and coaching. The funding for this is being provided by the School Improvement Grant, so it's a grant-funded effort. And I think committee members know Kerry Gillis is a retired elementary principal and central office facilitator. So
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Ms. All those in favor, say aye.
It's a roll call.
Aye. This
Roll
has to be a
call.
roll call.
I believe it's a roll call, Your Honor. It's a dollar value.
All right. Okay, roll call.
Okay,
He's a trainee.
second.
Yeah.
Thank you. I should help him out more. It's not his fault, okay. Okay. No, but.
Oh, now they're
anything
gonna have
with
a
money needs
fight.
roll call, okay? Anything with money, or any change of policy, okay. Mayor Martin. Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Yeah. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, also under permission to enter this evening is ratification of the contract with the Lowell School Administrators Association, the LSAA. And so I would recommend ratification of that contract. The LSAA has ratified the contract, and I ask that the committee do so now.
Move approval.
Seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call.
Mayor Martin. Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have the memorials offered by Regina Fattacani. First, we have Lula Markman, mother of Ingrid Markman, social worker at the Washington School. Second, Irene Butterfield, mother of Jackie Butterfield, music teacher at the Robinson and Varnum Schools. And third, Janice Jones, retired Lowell High School bilingual teacher. If we could offer a moment of silence.
Thank you, thank you.
May they rest in peace. Okay, so there's nothing under unfinished business, so we'll move right to the motions. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me.
Ms. Doherty.
Thank you. It's come to my attention, we have people in the audience who would like to speak tonight, and I wonder if we can make a motion to open the floor to public participation. At this time, I would make that motion.
Motion to suspend the rules, Your Honor.
Yep. Second by Mr. Leary. Approved.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mayor Martin. Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
So start right in.
Motion to allow
Motion.
public participation.
Okay. Thank you. Please come up to the mic, state your name.
Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We have a motion on the floor. Can you
Oh, all
call
right.
for the vote?
Just call for the vote.
Okay, all right. You're
Yea or
right.
nay?
It's my first night.
I know, and you're doing very well.
Okay, so first motion, I'll read it.
No, the
Just-
motion
public
for
participation.
public participation. I suspended the
Okay.
rules so that
Okay.
Ms. Doherty could bring in the motion.
All right. Okay, so now we'll
Okay.
do a roll call on the
Yeah,
vote.
that's great.
Okay. To bring in public participation. Okay. Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Mayor Martin, Ms. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Fattacani. Yes. Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
7 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Okay. So now we go right to public. Okay. So if anybody interested in speaking, please come up to the mic, state your name. Thank you. Name and address. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Noreen Crowley. I live in Barnum Avenue in Lowell. I was born and raised in Lowell. My father is a retired Lowell High School teacher, and I am employed as a paraprofessional at the Pawtucketville Memorial Elementary School while continuing my formal education so that I may become a teacher. I am the proud mother of a daughter in 7th grade at the Wing Middle School and of a son in 2nd grade at the Pawtucketville Memorial School. I am also a member of Stand for Children. Stand for Children is a grassroots organization that brings together parents, professionals, and community members to speak on behalf of children and their education. We've been working in Lowell for over a year and will continue our work to speak on behalf of the children of Lowell and their education. I come here tonight to advocate for Lowell children. Stand for Children is excited to be here in Lowell and especially happy to be collaborating with the present school committee. We look forward to foster relationships with the new school committee when they take office in January 2008. Stand for Children requests that the superintendent job opening be posted immediately. It is critical that this position be advertised before the holiday break. Lowell needs to use every advantage possible to make sure that the most qualified candidates are able to apply. Posting this position by the holiday break is the first step towards ensuring we have the strongest candidates to consider for our next superintendent. Stand for Children's second request is that parents, business leaders, and educators be involved in the search and hire process for our next superintendent. It is of utmost importance that the search process for superintendent be open to all, so that this transition is a smooth one for the district. Having a clear process agreed upon will enable all people of our diverse city to understand and feel connected to this important transition. Lowell is a diverse city along economic, racial, and linguistic lines. The youth that Lowell Public Schools serve reflects this diversity. Because of this fact, it is critical that a diverse group of parents and community members are present every step of the way as the school committee begins its search to fill the superintendent position. We thank you for your consideration. We look forward to continued collaboration, and we all wish you a very happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Sweezy. I live at 51 Laura Street in Lowell. I'm a Lowell resident and a member of Stand for Children. I come here tonight to advocate not only for my 2 school-age children, but for all of Lowell's children. It is important to me as a taxpayer, a Lowell resident, and a parent that the City of Lowell attract a wide, diverse, and qualified candidate pool to be considered for our next school superintendent. The only way to do this is to post the position by the holiday break. I know that I want and need to be up to date with this search and hire process. I realize that while I may not be able to be involved on an individual basis, I can stay informed by continued participation with groups like Stand for Children and my school's PTO. These organizations, as well as local business and educators, should be allowed to follow and play a part in this process. It's important that this process is a smooth transition, and through a partnership with the city, I think parents, educators, and business leaders can help provide this. I thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to continued collaboration, and I wish you all a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Krista Petrozello. I live at 4 Morningview Ave in Lowell. I am a member of Stand for Children, a volunteer at the McAuliffe School, and most importantly, a parent. As an involved member of the community, I urge you to post the job listing for the superintendent's position immediately. I care about the future of our children, the future of the Lowell school system, and the city of Lowell as a whole. Waiting any longer to post this opening not only lessens the chance of getting the largest possible pool of applicants, it also reflects poorly on our city in general. Posting this job opening before the holiday break will be an enormous factor in recruiting the largest, most qualified group of possible replacements for our current superintendent. I also hope that when the time comes to interview candidates, the process will be fair and open, and that you will consider the opinions of the many community members and parent organizations that care deeply about our school system and its new leadership. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Victoria Fahlberg, and I'm the Executive Director of One Lowell, which is a community-based organization here in the city that works with immigrants and refugees. And I hope all of you know that we have, we're going into our 4th year now with a large truancy program where we work in Lowell's middle schools and the high school. And I want to say that I support the things that Stand for Children is saying, and I would also like to say that I'm always concerned when really important things happen in our city, especially in the schools where the majority of students are minorities. And often they're not part of the processes that go on. And so I would like to say that our organization is able to reach out into the communities, and I would like to offer any assistance that you might need if you would like business leaders, parents, or other minority members of Lowell to help you in the search process for the new superintendent, because I think that it's very important. And I just want to say one other thing is that I'm sorry that we're doing a search process for a new superintendent, because Dr. Baer has been really good in dealing with issues with minority students, and I hope that the next superintendent will be able to do as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Anita Downs. I live at 48 West Forest Street. I'm chair of Citywide Parent Council and have 2 children currently in the system. And I just wanted to reiterate the fact that parents do want to be involved and are very interested in the search for superintendent. There needs to be a community effort, and anything that happens with the school system is going to affect our city. It's going to affect the way people view our city, and we really want to be involved and help any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to speak? Okay. Hearing none, this portion is closed. What do we do now? We did that. So now we'll go right to the motion. Okay. So now we'll take up the first motion. Okay, first motion by reconsideration by Regina Faticani, originally from Mayor Bill Martin, that the school committee establish a process for and begin the search to select a new superintendent of schools. The process should include setting the desired criteria, qualifications, salary range, posting a timetable, advertising plan, process to screen applicants to ensure they meet the criteria, qualifications set, and an opportunity for the community to have input for groups such as Citywide Parent Council, Lowell Business Community, UTL, the unions working with school systems, other interested parties, the establishment of a schedule for applications, a public interview process for finalists, and other matters to be determined by the committee. Further, that the school committee as a whole meet before the next regular scheduled meeting of the school committee to develop initial recommendations on the above for the school committee discussion. So roll call.
You have to have a second to that,
Oh,
Mr.
all right, yeah,
Chairman.
sorry. Second by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Have
Ms.
to go right to
Doherty.
roll.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
McHugh. 6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Ms. Martin?
Could make a motion to suspend the rules to entertain a motion to post the position that we have received in order to get it in a timely way before the holidays. I know that everyone has received in their packets that information.
Second.
Okay, second by Ms. Doherty. Ms. Fattacani?
Thank you, Your Honor. And again, my only issue is that there will be 2 new members of this committee. And with all due respect to them, we should hold off 2 more weeks until they are sitting here and they are able to have input. Lots of people got input tonight, and this committee was very willing to hear that. And I feel the same way about my 2 new colleagues. I want to be able to hear their input, just as I was able to hear the input of members of this community tonight. Because it's all about access, isn't it, Your Honor? Members of the community tonight had access, yet we are so willing to deny 2 new members of this committee to have access. That's all I'm talking about. Nobody is going to deny community involvement. Nobody is going to deny parent participation. I don't want to deny that, but I do, Your Honor, want to make sure my 2 new colleagues have the same respect that people got here tonight. That's all I'm asking for.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Martin?
If I could just comment, I have to say it's really, truly welcome news that, that my colleague is interested in public input, and I appreciate that. And I think that certainly bodes well for the quality of our process as we move forward, to know that there is that true and genuine commitment to ensuring that the many stakeholders in our district have the opportunity to have a say in this process, and certainly to participate in a reasonable, I think, and structured way. I understand the concerns. Certainly I've heard them, so I understand them. I can only say that I am looking forward to the input of new members. I certainly wouldn't want to have it hanging out there that in some way I as an individual or this body as a whole is trying in any way to negate the input of our new members that we'll be looking forward to welcoming come January 7th. I do think that there are some difficult realities we need to face, much like happened in the past when we were forced and looking at the process of bringing on a new superintendent 8 years ago, and myself as a newly elected member came into a process that was certainly further along than we certainly are, looking at a 3-week structure between now and when the committee will be inaugurated. I think that the committee at that time really, I think, took it upon themselves, and rightfully so, to say that the process needed to start, and that the input, I certainly felt my input was welcome during that process.
And I think that it was due to the generosity of the members I joined on the school committee. Certainly at that time, you had 2 open slots that were guaranteed, where people were not, even during the election season, it was known that there were people leaving the committee, so that there were obviously going to be new people coming on, and there were no concerns voiced, as I understand it and as I recall, about moving forward in a September-October timeframe, even before an election had happened. So I would really put forth to this committee that the realities are we are handicapping ourselves. We are handicapping our district, and we are severely handicapping our future if we do not have the broadest pool of candidates to choose from. The reality is that this is the time frame. Getting the information, the posting out there, even in a cursory form, as is listed here, recognizing that the true input comes during the interview process, but making sure that as many people as possible are aware of the basic criteria so they can make their professional decisions as to whether or not to apply, and really, I hope, pose us with the very challenging process of choosing amongst the very most qualified people in the Commonwealth, in New England, who will be, I hope, fighting to join us here in Lowell and really take our district into the next decade. There are serious realities that we all need to face as committee members, and I think that is absolutely one of them. I will say that with our new members who are going to be joining us, I can say for myself that I am looking forward to their opinions. One whom we know, obviously, one who is being discussed, I guess. I don't want to say officially, but I think that they are going to have a great deal to contribute to this process, and I'm looking forward to that. And I think much like we invite and are impressed by the commitment from the community and their real interest and investment in this position, their recognition of how critically important this is to the future of our city, I think we all need to be able to move forward together, looking for the same kinds of basic criteria at this point so that we can begin a process that in the end will yield us the most positive future, not just for the children sitting in our classroom, but for our community as a whole, because that is absolutely what is on the line right now. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just squeeze in, we need to do a roll call, and then we'll continue with the discussion for roll call for the
The suspension of the rules.
suspension of the rules. We didn't do that, so.
Mayor,
Sure, go ahead.
Mayor Martin, Ms. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
7 yeas, 6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McHugh?
No, now she can bring in a motion. She can-
You
No,
she
she
made the
brought-
motion.
Oh, okay.
We're just going
All
back
right,
to the
okay.
discussion.
All right.
Mr.
I thought you wanted a motion.
No, Mr. McHugh.
Can I talk now?
That
I apologize for the confusion.
Only
okay.
to suspend the rules.
That was just to suspend the rules. We
Okay.
So
I
make
skipped
make
over.
your
Make your motion.
make your motion, please.
So I would make the motion that we post the position with the criteria that we have had an opportunity to review in order to start the process before the holidays. Thank you.
Seconded
Second.
by Ms. Doherty. Okay. Mr. McHugh?
Thank you. I think the motion's pretty simple. It's not the whole process that's going to be identified. All it's doing is starting it. It's getting the ball rolling. All we're looking to do is get an advertisement in the newspaper. That has not boxed out anyone's decision process, whether they're the new mayor, whether they're the new committee person. They will be involved in the process when they get here in January. They have a lot of decisions to make. They have a timetable that has to be set. All this does is start it so you can put an advertisement in a newspaper. I don't see what the big deal is. I said this at the last meeting. I don't see what the big deal is. All it's going to start is getting candidates interested in applying for the position, and I do agree, you need to be out front. You want to get the best possible candidate as a superintendent. So by getting the advertisements going now is not delaying the process. It's not excluding input of anybody. There has been, right now there is no input of parents. There is no input of business leaders. You're doing an advertisement. You're seeing who's interested. As that's going on and people are looking to see if they want to apply, you need to develop that. What are we going to be looking, what are we going to do? What is the official timeline on the interviews? What is going to be the timeline? Who's going to be involved at the interviews? That's when you're going to get all that input and all those important decisions will be made. So I don't think this intention is to slight anybody. And if someone's slighted by this, I'd have to tell them they need to take a deep breath and relax, because at this point, the only thing we're asking for is the candidates to apply to this job. And I think that's the most important thing. We heard it tonight. Let's start the process. Step 1, that's what we're taking. Step 1. We're not talking about step 3, 4, 5, and 10. Those are going to happen, and those are going to be the job of the new mayor, the new school committee, the parents, the business community. However you want that to work, that's what's going to happen. So I don't see what the big deal is. We talked about this at the last meeting. I have to tell you, to delay it at the last meeting, I was a little disappointed. I don't think political maneuvering is the right thing to be doing here. But if that's what it has to happen, obviously, that'll all get shaken out in the bottom. I would definitely support the motion here tonight to move forward with step 1 and get the advertisement out. Thank you.
Mr. Lowell?
Mr. Lehrer?
Through the chair to the superintendent, just a couple of questions regarding the draft document. The terms of employment, I guess that's, first of all, I want to, in addition to the questions, thank you for doing it, appreciate it. I don't have any problem with the basics of the questions. They're pretty easy to understand. There's only 2 areas where I have concern. I'm really looking for your expertise. One of them, the terms of employment, being first time I negotiated for a superintendent contract, the terms of employment say a 3-year contract. Is that standard? I mean, I'm not sure how you came in or how, I guess that's standard in the...
Standard 3.
Yes.
Okay. And the second issue too, and then I guess returns were the obviously everybody's concern is like the quality pool of folks that are going to apply for it. And I know that the salary compensation right below it, we have competitive to negotiable, which makes sense to me. But the question is that going to make sense to folks that are going to apply? My reference is, insurance and reinsurance. That's something that I know what the market is. I know what I'm going to be looking for. Will they have that same type of link as a superintendent or assistant superintendent or educational professional when they see competitive to negotiable?
No, it would be ideal if the committee could plug a number in there. But if the committee's not prepared to do that, then the alternative is to put competitive, negotiable, and salary will be competitive. And that's not infrequently. You see that in postings for superintendent positions.
So it's not infrequent that you see competitive too. Okay. So in your experience, is that something that's redefined as you go along with the process, or is it opened up in negotiations when? I mean, will this prohibit folks who say, look, are they going to be lowballing or highballing? Will that prohibit some folks from actually applying?
I think that's hard to say precisely what will be the impact of it, but as I said, it's not unusual for an advertisement for a superintendent vacancy to say competitive salary, negotiable, and then more detail follows whenever the committee is prepared to frame the parameters of its salary.
No, and I thank you for that. I guess when Susan, Assistant Superintendent Mulligan receives phone calls from folks going, what's the pay scale? Sometimes folks are going to say, well, I'm a superintendent in wherever land, I'm making X amount of dollars, why would I even go through it without knowing if it's going to at least meet or hopefully exceed what I'm trying to go for? Again, everybody has philosophies and they want to gain, but at the end of the day, we work because we have to. So I mean, that's really kind of my biggest concern in looking at this.
I think the standard way that a personnel office responds to that inquiry is to say that the school committee's committed to making this a competitive salary. And we would welcome your application, and we'd welcome your letting us know what your current compensation is. And that's a fairly common way of responding to that kind of inquiry when there hasn't been an absolute settled range.
All right, so bottom line, it would be fair to say you really don't see that as a major issue then?
I don't see it as a significant impediment.
I think that the concern I had last time around is obviously what the committee member Federici put forward. You have 2 new folks coming in. My other concern really is that what I think, in my opinion, when you're doing a search for a position, that the timetable is probably even more important than the posting in terms of adhering to when you're actually going to put this together. And thankfully, you put a great timetable together for us to take a look at in terms of when this search would actually be completed. And for those who haven't had a chance to look at it, or for the folks in the TV audience or here in the gallery, the timeline really starts estimating that you do it tonight, you post a position for this week or next week, and you move it right in through where you're beginning, hopefully April 2nd, you're actually picking a position for the superintendent by that time frame. And it goes through a lot of different scenarios that the committee, as we pointed out at the last meeting, the timetable would be the first part, the posting of the positions actually the second part. The third part is actually the committee sitting down saying, okay, as the applications are coming in, what exactly is going to be the process and the involvement of everybody? So I think, I mean, I don't have a problem, look, I don't have a problem posting the position. And I do disagree with the fact that if you waited a week or two, it's going to make a difference. In reality, the timetable outlining April 2nd as a date you can still meet if you started another week, if you started 2 weeks. Is it cutting it close? Yeah. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. I will support this because there's no reason not to support it. You know, if it makes people get a comfort level, then that's fantastic. But please don't suggest that if you wait another week, it's going to end the game. That doesn't have any fact in reality. I think that this timetable, if the maker of the motion would amend it to add the timetable in place, I think that might be of value, because this is really more important. Or I could do another motion after, or I could do a substitute motion. I don't want to, like, if you could amend the motion, that'd be great, and I would support it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Madam Superintendent.
If I could just a quick comment. The timetable calls for the posting to close on February 1st, and that's probably the critical date, because then the committee can determine in January, the newly elected committee can determine in January the details of the steps after that, of who's to be involved. It keeps it wide open for the committee in terms of planning the timetable back then. So I think the critical piece is the February 1st closing date.
No,
for
and
applications.
I agree, and I think the key here really is making sure you add to the timetable. I think nobody would disagree. This is April, first week in April. You want to have selected this individual. You know, and this is really to hold your feet to the fire, so we get snowstorms or what have you. You know, you need to make up time and hustle up to get it done. So, you know, I'm not going to disagree with this. I'll support this because it has a comfort level for everybody, and that's good for me. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. I supported the motion the mayor brought in 2 weeks ago. I would have liked to have already had this position posted, so I absolutely support my colleague's motion to post this as soon as possible. We know what the job description is. We know what the requirements are. That's not the part that needs discussion. It's the process that needs to be worked out, but I think that we should not waste another minute. We need to get this information out there and get interested candidates thinking about Lowell and applying to Lowell. I think that we really need to get on board with that. And I would also support having the timetable in place, making that decision tonight. I agree. I don't think that hampers the new committee at all. It just gives us a very important time frame that these decisions need to be made, and I think that's a good way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Faticani.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you to the superintendent, Madam Superintendent, page number 3, item 15, if you would just call your attention to that. Can you describe what that means to me? What that means to you, I should say. University academic appointment will be considered for a qualified applicant.
That was in the posting from 8 years ago, the posting that I responded to, and it was the opportunity that the university may appoint as adjunct faculty or a consulting position at the university. And it was a way that I think at the time, so adjunct faculty becomes a very plausible, if the person meets the academic qualifications required for the university, that's a very plausible opportunity.
Here's my concern. Item number 1 says willingness to devote her entire efforts to the administration of the Lowell school system. So if we're asking somebody to devote their entire efforts, then why are we then saying we'll give you time off to do a university appointment? Now, you could do that at night, but you know, Madam Superintendent, this job requires you almost nightly to be at meetings. And I recognize that while you may not have taught at Lowell, I want my next superintendent, as I wanted with you, and that was part of my issue, was full-time devotion. And it's a lot to ask for, and I recognize it's a lot to ask for. So I would have a problem with maintaining item number 15 in this job description.
Madam Superintendent?
Even though it's a draft, I think that sending the message that it's okay to take time away from the most important job you have to do something else is not the message I want to send.
If I could just comment, my understanding at the time, this was, both of those, number 1 that you just read and number 15 were in the job description that you and your colleagues in 1999 approved.
And I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now.
Yeah. And, it's obviously, up to the committee. I think that as I was told at the time, that was also a way that it might be possible to expand the salary and the compensation that would be part of the package for the new superintendent. I mean, obviously, the committee can do, at this point, whatever it would like.
I absolutely recognize that, because that is a way for, when salaries are kept lower, or because the finances, that is absolutely a way for, it's like doing a detail in law enforcement. But you yourself know, when would you have ever been able to take time away from here to teach at the university? Maybe do a lecture once in a while, but it would have been impossible, because there are negotiations and there are subcommittee meetings, and your time is your time is devoted to being here. So I have a concern with us to say your willingness to devote your entire effort, and then at the bottom of the job description say, but it's okay to go off and teach some classes if you want to. Because it also doesn't say whether that would be during the day, and I certainly wouldn't want that to occur. I mean, I just have some concern with us opening the door that says, it's important, but go ahead and do something else if you want.
Okay. It's my understanding, though, that that's from...
It is, Mr.
So
Right,
if
but
this
if we vote
passes,
this
we're
tonight...
gonna... But if we
vote
pass
with
this
in
tonight,
here-
we're gonna meet to develop,
No, if this passes, it gets posted as is. So you have to decide, Your Honor, do you think that the superintendent should take time away from the most important mission to go off and teach a class? I say no. Amend it, fine.
Okay. Ms. Martin?
I would make that, in the form of a motion that we can eliminate number 15. I will say it is something that I think bears discussion when we do have the full committee in place. I think we certainly have gone to great lengths to encourage a better, stronger relationship with the university, and I think that there is a certain attractiveness in terms of attracting candidates, that they will be functioning and have the opportunity, perhaps, to function not only within the confines of a K-12 system, but really to be able to look beyond and be able to see that connection point. Certainly our recent summit has emphasized that, and it's something that we've talked a great deal about, strengthening that relationship with the university. I have no qualms about taking it out of this initial posting, and I think it's something that we hope may develop over time, but it certainly wouldn't be something that would be a critical criteria for me at the onset.
Need a second.
So a motion
Need
to
a second for
eliminate
that,
15.
Mr. McHugh?
Okay.
All right. So now we just vote on the regular
Do you want me to read it back?
Sure. All right,
Okay.
so we'll read the original motion, and then we'll take a roll call.
That we post the superintendent's position with the criteria the school committee has had an opportunity to review, so the process can begin before the holidays. An amendment was made by Ms. Martin and seconded by Mr. McHugh to eliminate number 15.
Okay. Roll call? Oh,
I apologize for being anal. We're posting it, I said Boston Globe, Lowell Sun, educational stuff. We can post it elsewhere as well. I mean, I don't want to make sure if we're missing something that we should be posting. I don't have any knowledge of where superintendents look for jobs. I can't imagine it's the Boston Globe, but...
We'll cover the air. We'll
so
cover
blow
the...
your blanket, whatever.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Roll. Ms. Doherty?
Sorry, I also have a question. I thought we were going to include the timetable. Was that an amended motion that Mr. Lear... We're going to do it as a second motion? Okay, fine.
Okay. Roll call?
Okay. Mayor Martin, Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
No.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent. It's approved. as amended.
All right, Mr. Leary?
Just, I mean, under the special rules, again, I'd like to make a motion regarding the sitting timetable as it's outlined. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review this, because this to me, again, is the number one thing. This holds everybody accountable to this next year. I realize there may be, there is, the way the superintendent drafted, there was enough flexibility, the ACH comments that we wasn't on. So I think that's something we need to make sure we're adhering to the next committee, so we ensure that we do what the person supposed to do. So I think that is a formal motion.
Motion to suspend the rules first?
We're still under a suspension.
We're
of the
still on
rules.
suspension,
We're still
all right.
under, doesn't have to suspend them. Okay,
Unless anybody has anything wrong with the draft.
Jim, is your microphone on?
Sorry.
Okay. Do you want to repeat that?
No.
I just need a second on it.
Second by Ms. Martin?
You want me to read it back?
Sure.
Absolutely.
That the timetable as it is outlined in the criteria be included in the posting.
Okay. Mr. McHugh?
No, not in the posting. It's something that we're going to adhere to, so we know what a guideline, a goal to be adopted.
I'll take out in the posting then.
Yeah, and just
That
really,
the
you look at it.
timetable as is outlined be included.
Yeah, and obviously this is, no.
Be adopted, okay. Be adopted.
And just a quick statement regarding the timeline. It's not etched in stone. Obviously, there's a lot of flexibility built within this timeline. It's a goal setting kind of process.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh?
Actually, I won't support this, because I think this is where I draw the line, where the new committee has to get involved to make these decisions. I understand what you're trying to do here. The dates are important. However, when you approve this, you're approving all the language to the right, which then I think starts to say to the new committee that this is the process that we're going to utilize to develop that. So I would not support this for that reason. I think that's where I see the new committee in January developing and finalize this. Right now, the only thing that we have approved is to get the process started, to get the advertisement out there, and then, there's a date as far as getting those back. The rest of these dates, I think, need to be looked at by the new committee, and exactly who will be involved and what will happen should be the role of the new committee. So I think that's where I'm drawing the line. I supported the previous motion. I think we need to get going, but this next part, I do believe, is the role of the next committee, so I will not support it. Thank you.
Madam Superintendent?
I wonder if I could offer the suggestion that the committee might want to authorize that in the posting there be a statement that says it's the committee's intention to select the superintendent on or before April 2nd. And that gives candidates a notion of a rough idea of the timetable. And certainly the committee, whatever timetable you come up with, it's not going to be longer than April 2nd.
Okay, well, in an effort to make this go correctly, and I can understand what my colleague's suggesting, I'd make that as amend my own motion to have this guideline straight up to April 2nd of 2008 be the time frame where we expect to select on or before April 2nd to select the next superintendent. That's as an amendment.
Okay. We need a second on that. Ms. Martin? Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Martin? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
No.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
No.
4 yeas, 2 nays, 1 absent. It passes.
So now
Now we're off, and we are no longer on the suspension of the rules. We're back to the regular agenda.
Okay.
Motion 2.
Okay.
Make that announcement.
Okay, so now we're out of suspension of rules. We're back to the motions. If there's no objection, next motion's mine. I'll just read it from up here. Request that the committee hold a reception for family and friends immediately following the 208 inauguration ceremony. The reception would be held at the Daniel P. Kane Courtyard Restaurant at Lowell High.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Fattacante. Motion just speaks for itself, so I have
Thank you
nothing
for
to
the
say.
initiative, Your Honor.
Thank you. No objections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Third motion by Connie Martin, requesting that the superintendent provide a report to the Transportation Subcommittee outlining staff reporting procedures and management responsibilities as they relate to school administrators, transportation department staff, and our current contract with transportation providers.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Faticani. Ms. Martin. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Just quickly, I just wanted us to be able to have an opportunity in the Transportation Subcommittee to clarify what the reporting procedures are. I just want to make sure that it's our transportation staff who have the ultimate say in this, in our decision-making with the subcontracts that we have with transportation providers. And I just want to make sure that there's an appropriate chain of command that makes sure that individuals aren't being kind of frozen out in the process, and that we don't have staff who are accountable for these for the decisions not being included in the decision making. So I just wanted to make sure that that we can get that update so we can move forward with better information. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Fourth motion by Mr. Leary. Request that the superintendent provide the Lowell School Committee an update regarding extended time grant relating to both the Stocklosa and Robinson Middle Schools. The report should contain copies of all preliminary reports submitted to and received from Massachusetts Department of Education and other state or extended time grant agencies. Provide information regarding curriculum or extended time development created by local school department staff. In addition, provide the current status of negotiations with UTL pertaining to extended time grant proposal and the current status with the Stocklosa and Robinson Middle School parent groups. The report should also contain designated time frames for completion of actions and goals to be reached in order to implement the extended time grant for the 208-209 school year, if still applicable. If not applicable, provide a rationale for why this cannot be achieved within the time frame. Second by Ms. Faticani, Mr. Leary.
I think the motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
How can you say any more with that long motion?
Are you serious? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. I know. Fifth motion by Jackie Doherty, requests that the superintendent provide a comprehensive mid-year update on the results and efforts to improve student attendance at the high school, including data from all internal and external programs involved. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Ron. I think the motion really speaks for itself. I'm looking to get an update on our efforts around student attendance and what kind of progress we're making, looking at all the different resources and programs we have working on this topic and breaking it down for us. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Say aye. Motion passes. Sixth motion by Regina Faticani. The school committee review with the superintendent the current snow day policy and release policy of the Lowell Public Schools. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Ms. Faticani.
Your Honor, obviously, there was havoc last week. Superintendent was out, and so it was difficult for parents to get students released, and there were buses late. Rumors flying around the city about where the buses had got careened off to. I think that it was horrible. Parents didn't know where their children were, and I think we have to clarify what we're going to do in a situation like that. I mean, we clearly knew we were going to get a big snowstorm, and so this issue I think that we have to grapple with in a community like Lowell is: do we release children before the end of school, possibly to go home to an empty home, or do we take the risk because the maintaining children in school until the end of the day just created such an incredible traffic jam that I'm not sure which is worse. But I do know that we probably have to have another discussion here. This committee has to, we have to look at the horror that happened last week and then weigh that against making maybe a change in our policy, and what that would do to impact students who may be going home to parentless households. I don't know what was worse. Youngsters walking home when in the height of the blizzard, or youngsters going home before the blizzard started. I don't know what could be worse. I'm not sure. But I'm looking to my colleagues for us to sit down and collaborate on maybe a policy change about what we're going to do when the next time this happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Martin?
I would only make the recommendation perhaps that we do, I know it's bigger than just transportation, but perhaps that subcommittee is a place where we could have that conversation if the chair of that subcommittee is comfortable with it.
Well, the chair doesn't know if the chair will be the chair.
Oh, yeah.
come January, but you're right, it probably should go to the transportation subcommittee, absolutely.
Safety and transportation?
Joint safety, right.
Perfect.
That's perfect, because it actually falls under both issues. Thank you.
Okay, so amend the motion to go to
To go
safety
to
subcommittee?
Yeah,
Seconded
safety
by,
and transportation.
does that need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McHugh. Okay, so do a roll call or just all approve?
Okay, to go, was the safety subcommittee or the transportation subcommittee?
Go to both.
The
Joint
joint,
safety.
okay, joint.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next under subcommittees. First one, we have the Extended Time Subcommittee, report and approval of the minutes of December 11th, 2007. Ms. Faticani?
Thank you, Your Honor. Present was myself as chair and Jackie Doherty. Other committee members present, Jim Leary and Connie Martin. School department personnel present, Ian Murphy, Patty Gajeka, and Terry Garish, a new employee here at the Lowell School Department. What we discussed was the success of our summer school program. So I'm going to break it down real simple. The best bang for our buck was the grades 8 through 12. We seem to have got far more attendance in that time frame, far more attendance of youngsters in that age group than we did of youngsters that were in lower grades. A couple of reasons could be, Your Honor. One, we waited so long to announce summer school for lower grades that it's possible that parents had made plans. It wasn't in the forefront of people's minds because they hadn't been reminded ad infinitum. So it's possible that that was the reason why attendance was low. We're not sure, but what we are sure of is that we had great success in limited English proficiency classes, and we had great success in the 8 through 12 grades. One of the reasons kids in grade 8 recognize that if I finish this, I get to go to grade 9, and that was a big impetus for youngsters in that grade. So that was where we had our best success. My recommendation is that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We continue to look at having summer school for younger grades, but the committee needs to fully recognize that if we are going to do that, that conversation probably needs to happen in January, and so that we can begin to alert parents if youngsters are failing in the second marking period, that summer school is an option before kids get into the third marking period, and summer school is a definite. So I think that we have to be a little bit more proactive here in making the decision to actually run summer school and not delay, and maybe that would help us get a better attendance in those lower grades. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, Ms.
That's the report. Oh,
Yeah, Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I'd just like to add one thing. I think when we look at past practices with our summer school program, the elementary students did come in higher proportions. So I really, to speak to my colleagues' mention of the timing issue, I think it was really a key factor in the drop in attendance this last summer. And I'm very much committed to continuing some sort of summer program for our younger students who are at risk, because I think the earlier we can get them the help, the better off we're all going to be, because those problems don't just go away. They need the support, the sooner the better. So I would be in favor of making those decisions, as my colleague mentions, earlier, so that we can plan accordingly and notify families, assuming, of course, we have the funding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, acceptance of the report? Okay. Second, Mr. McHugh. All in favor? Say aye. Second, curriculum subcommittee, report and the approval of the minutes, December 11th. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much. The Subcommittee on Curriculum and Instruction did meet on December 11th. Present were myself, also Jackie Doherty and James Leary, and from the administration we had Deputy Superintendent Jean Franco. We also had in attendance 2 individuals who were there representing research proposals, Deirdre Murphy, who is an associate professor of physical therapy at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, and also Jill Pruill. Well, she's in Rhode Island, so I doubt that she's listening to me. She won't be offended that I just massacred her name, who is a doctoral candidate at the University of Rhode Island. The first research request that we did discuss came from Deirdre Murphy at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, and this is in conjunction with our Safe Routes to School program. It's a program that's been in place working with the Lincoln School, trying to encourage more students to walk to school, to get all the benefits of that. And it's something that I think is very non-intrusive. It really is just going to be a survey that will be distributed to determine what challenges remain to some of our students taking part in the Walking to School program. And it will include the only kind of time from our teaching and faculty staff would be quite literally doing a question in the classrooms of asking children to raise their hands if they had walked to school that day. The researchers are hoping to share this study with other schools and districts, but they have agreed that they would not list the name or location of where this study has taken place in deference to the school committee's general wishes. I would probably recommend if we can do maybe each one of these proposals individually. So I'd put forth in the form of a motion that the full school committee approve of this specific request regarding the Safe Routes to School program at the Lincoln School.
Second by Mr. Leary. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Research and proposal, okay, research and proposal.
Ms. Martin?
I'm sorry. The second request also came from Deirdre Murphy from the university. This is for a request to conduct a research study based on already collected data regarding height and weight of students in our school district. It's something that we certainly as a subcommittee saw the value of being able to make those kinds of kind of district-wide studies over time to see if there have been changes in the typical kind of physicality of our students. I will say there were concerns raised by the subcommittee, primarily around the issue that we do not have this information. It is not information that is collected by the Lowell School Department. It is not something that we in any way maintain or have any responsibility for, or in fact can verify in any ways, because it is not our information to collect or to allow really any research to happen on. The subcommittee did feel that there is certainly value that could be gleaned from this type of research, but the actual information is held by the Lowell Board of Health, which is a city department. And we made the recommendation that we certainly can support it and would encourage them to go to the Board of Health to receive the actual release of information in accordance with their guidelines and the laws and policies that govern the release of that type of information as mandated by public health law in the Commonwealth. So I'd say I would make that in the form of a motion.
What would the motion be?
I'm sorry, the motion would be that we support the research, but we do recognize that that we would encourage the researchers to go to the Board of Health and go through their process to receive access to the information based on the laws and policies of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Okay.
I don't want to second, but I do want to ask a question.
Okay.
But somebody needs to second it for
Do
me
we
to
have a
ask the question.
second for us?
Okay.
Mr. Leary? Yeah.
Thank you, Ron.
Ms. Faticano.
Through you to my colleague, the information that gets collected, how private is that information? Because my issue about, and I see you saying you agree with it. Do we know if the health department sort of didacts the information so it's student 1, student 2, student 3, so that no researcher gets information, because here's what I don't want to have happen. This particular group of students has this wrong with them. I just don't want to do that because I just don't think it's beneficial to our students. So all Italians like pasta, so they got a couple extra pounds on them, okay? I don't want that to happen. And that's what I'm concerned will happen, because we'll be able to glean that information by youngsters' last names. So can we ask the health department first what type of information is available through them? How much information, basically? Because I just don't want, my concern is that the report shows maybe trends in ethnic groups or racial groups, and man, I just don't want that to happen here. And I know none of my colleagues want that to happen, so I think we need to be careful about the kinds of information. I think we should, yes, go to the health department, but before we say that, maybe we should say, hey, let's ask the health department how much information they would be giving if they were going to be able to participate in the study. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Martin?
Through you to my colleague, I would say absolutely, not only I, but certainly the subcommittee had those same concerns. We were told that in conversations with the Public Health Department, it was confirmed that they would not be releasing any identifying data, so there would not be any names attached to any of the information. There would not be any, first names, last names, any of that stuff. All that would be pulled out, and really it would only be the actual data points listed here, the age, weight, all those things. I would say, and I would concur that as a kind of safety measure, I would recommend that we get a letter from the health department if they do offer their approval to this endeavor, that we would want to have them very clearly in writing submit that to us, exactly what they would be sharing as part of this research
That's
study.
a great idea. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So on that's
I think we had a motion, we had a second, so
right.
call
So
for
all in
roll vote.
favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay.
The third and final research request came from Jill Pruill, again, a doctoral candidate at the University of Rhode Island. This is a research study which will be investigating 2 different cities and the perception based on teachers and administrators of high stakes testing and its impact in the school community. I will say, I'm sure it would reveal some interesting information. There are certainly some concerns that I had regarding the structure of the research. Really there are no comparison points within it. It really is, comparing 2 cities really only tells you about cities. So I have some concerns around that. But I will say that those concerns were allayed because Ms. Pruill did work not only with Dr. Roxanne Howe at the high school, but most specifically with the headmaster, Mr. Samaras, who offered his support and his willingness to participate. Based on that, for myself and I think for the subcommittee, we did approve this study to move forward, and would recommend that to the committee as a whole.
Okay.
Sorry, so I'd make a motion that we approve it and approve it.
Seconded by Ms. Doherty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next.
Okay, here we go. The other item that we discussed during, there were 2 other items that we discussed during the subcommittee. One was an adolescent literacy study group that's going to be happening within our district. This is a result of an $80,000 grant that we did receive from the Massachusetts Department of Education. It is, I think, extremely timely in our district. The kind of establishment of literacy across the curriculum and across all grade levels is certainly critical to the success of our students in the future. There are 2 fundamental questions that are kind of being put forth to be answered in this process. One would be, how do we cultivate adolescents who are fully literate thinkers and communicators? And then secondly, how do we create and sustain a strong culture of literacy that everyone wants to be a part of? I think for many of us, we are aware that the middle school is where literacy can really make or break a student's educational experience, and that the extra time and effort we can put in, specifically in that age range, can have a truly profound impact on the student's performance moving forward. Really, this in terms of a district-wide research study, we are looking at our middle schools, obviously, and we have pulled together a core group of administrators and literacy specialists to begin this process, focusing currently on administrators from the Sullivan, the Rogers, and Stocklosa middle schools, who are coming together to do the preliminary work of coming up with some ideas, for some systems to really ensure that this literacy initiative is effective throughout all of our middle schools here in the district. There will be some actions taken as part of this, including making some investments in our middle school libraries, which I think is really very important. Also looking at some of our extended time programs at some of our middle schools, and looking at some additional training opportunities for our teachers on building leadership teams, and also on the using the X2 data management system to help them in this process. I think what's important to note is that, while we're starting with this core group of administrators and specialists on this effort, as it moves forward, it will be more inclusive, ensuring that we do have input from teachers and from people through, various middle schools, to ensure that it is something that will really have what we hope will be an important impact. There is also, I should mention, the Laura Lee School, which is being focused on in terms of literacy in a special education environment, so that's going to be another area of focus. And I would recommend to the committee that we accept that as a report of progress on the literacy initiative at our middle schools.
Okay. Thank you. Do we need a second on that?
Right.
Yeah.
So second on that, Mr. McHugh? Thank you. One more?
One more, and then I swear to God I'm quiet. The final report we did receive was the preschool transportation report. I know I am preaching to the choir in this. We received information that validates everything we know, that there are some of our most critically needy students are not participating in our preschool program. Transportation is being cited as an impediment in making that happen. I think we all recognize it. It is something that this committee has struggled with, and I know will continue to struggle with as we move forward, with a real effort, we hope, in the next budget process to be able to restore that funding. It's a challenge, and I certainly appreciate the work of the Family Literacy Center staff and their expertise in being able to pull together that information. Again, it really validates, I think, what we have all known, and I hope can strengthen for all of us our commitment as we move forward. So I would make that, in its totality, a report of progress of the Curriculum Instruction Subcommittee.
Okay, thank you.
I'll say second on it. You need a second.
Well, it's not really a motion, was it?
Yeah, accept the
Yeah.
report as report of
Okay,
progress.
so seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, say aye. Okay, third, we have Finance Subcommittee report. Report of the meeting on December 19th, 2:07 at 6:30 promptly. Mr. McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Tonight, the Finance Subcommittee met. In attendance were myself, along with Jim Leary and the Vice Chair, John Leahy, and also Regina Fadacani. We reviewed two items tonight. Actually, we reviewed first the 2007 end-of-the-year report that we're required to fill out to the state each year. There's some good news here. I think we're pretty much at 100% of net school funding for this year. The city has been having to deal with a carry-over amount. And this year, actually, we're just a little over $300,000 short, so it's pretty much close to 100%. But it's really, in theory, if you think about it, it's over 100% because they had to pick up some extra funds that they didn't meet last year. So they've gotten a lot better as far as I see, as far as meeting their net school requirement. So that's really, and it's also projected for this year, which is the FY08, they'll actually be over 100% of net school funding. So they're meeting their obligation to the schools and to the state as well as far as meeting the needs. So that was our first item. The second item was something we've been talking about. It's a memorandum of agreement. This committee's been talking about it, I'd have to say, for 6-7 years with the city. It's been a long process. Jay Lang has been working for the last 8 months with the new city administration very diligently to get through this process. He actually used the Department of Education's guidelines on what should be the charges to the school department and what shouldn't be the charges. So really, that was the boilerplate that they worked off of, and at this point, they've come to an agreement with the city as far as what will be the charges and what won't be the charges. I mean, in years past, we heard, things were trying to be put in, and they were always not accepted because they weren't meeting the guidelines that was set forth by the Department of Education. So we went through that document, and the Finance Subcommittee did agree that it should be moved forward and adopted as part of the school committee in the city. The city people, the folks at the city auditor and the treasurer, and they have already looked at it, and they agree as well. They're willing to sign this document as well, so it'll be a memorandum of understanding for both sides, so it really will dictate each year what the charges can be charged back through Schedule 19 to the school department and what can't. It can be amended in the future, and it also, any unusual one-time charges could also be agreed upon mutually that it could be charged, but this clearly identifies, and I think this is a very, very big step for the amount of time we've been working on this. So there was a motion by Mr. Leary and seconded by Mr. Leahy that to recommend to this committee as a whole that the draft net school spending agreement be adopted and executed with the required city officials and then forward to the Massachusetts Department of Education for review and final approval. So that was the, which came out of a meeting tonight, and we are all in favor of that. That was a 3-0 vote. So we move that forward as a motion to the committee as a whole.
Okay. Seconded by Mr. Leary.
Yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 I think I'd like to get a roll call vote on this. I think it's important because it's an executable document.
Okay, Mayor Martin.
I'd like to get a roll call.
Okay, Mayor Martin. Miss Doherty.
Yes.
I'm ahead of you, I'm sorry. Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary. Yes. Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
That concludes my last Finance Subcommittee report. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're on to the reports of the superintendent. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the first report is in response to a motion at the last school committee meeting to prepare a draft calendar for January through June for school committee meetings that would show if the committee met the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month instead of the first and third. Traditionally, the committee had met in the second and fourth Wednesdays, but over the last several years, to accommodate Mr. McHugh's schedule, the committee shifted to a first and third Wednesday schedule. And as the report indicates, our first and third schedule, the one that's currently the adopted schedule, has two conflicts, potential conflicts for people. One meeting is scheduled for over February vacation, and the second is that a June meeting is scheduled for the night of Lowell High School graduation. If the committee were to meet the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, it reduces to one conflict, and that would be over the April school vacation. So whatever is the committee's pleasure as to next steps.
Ms. Doherty.
Thank you. And through you to the superintendent, thank you for putting these schedules together for us. I have since learned, I'm now chair of the urban division of the Mass Association of School Committees, and we had it's the last meeting of the year, but my first meeting last week, and I've learned they meet the second Wednesday of the month. So that would preclude me from being able to do the second and fourth schedule. So I respectfully submit to my colleagues that we stay with the first and third schedule that we've had so that I can fulfill this new obligation I have. And I would be open to looking at sometime later in the spring as we get closer to the June 4th date, because that is the high school graduation. Obviously, we need to be there for that. Looking at an alternative date either in later in May that would be convenient to most members of the school committee to meet instead of that June 4th date.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Martin?
If I could, also in the last, I guess, 2 or 3 years where we've had this, I also have a monthly conflict with the board meeting. If we do change to the 2nd and 4th, the monthly board meeting that happens at Community Teamwork where I work. So it would be preferable to me to stay on the 1st and 3rd, but perhaps it is something that we want to wait until we have the full committee to decide what works for the most members. I don't know if anyone else has problems changing it or not, but I mean, whatever it is, obviously we just do. But it would work better for my schedule if we retained our current schedule.
Okay, so what would, Ms. Doherty?
Sorry, I just wanted to add something else. We had already decided that we were canceling the January 2nd meeting, right? And we're meeting on January 9th, which if we stay with the 1st and 3rd, we would then meet on the 16th of January as well, which given the major decisions that the new committee is going to have to make regarding the superintendent search process, I think that makes a lot of sense to get those 2 meetings underway. So, I mean, I guess I would make it in the form of a motion that we vote to stay with the current 1st and 3rd schedule with those changes that we've already decided.
Okay. Second by, do we have a second? Ms. Martin? Any further discussion? Okay, so,
Has to be a roll call.
right, I was just gonna do that. So we'll have a roll call on that?
Mayor Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent. Current schedule is approved.
Thank you. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, the next report, I think should be put off then until January 9th. And I'll go to the October 1st report, the 3rd report on the agenda. You have the official October 1st enrollment report. This is an annual report we do. This is the state has identified October 1st as the official count date so that the state and every local district can look at enrollment trends from year to year by always having the consistent date of October 1st. And so you have a report detailing trends in a range of areas, showing class sizes, showing trends in enrollment at the elementary level, middle school level, high school level, trends in our population of youngsters who are not yet fluent in English. A couple of the highlights, there are more than 48 languages spoken by students in the Lowell Public Schools. The main ones are, of course, English, and then Khmer, Spanish, Portuguese, Lao, and Vietnamese, in that order of dominance, and then a lot of other languages of which a handful of youngsters speak. I guess the other is 48% of our children have been identified as youngsters whose first language is not English, and 30% of our students are not yet fluent in English. That is the highest percentage of a student body in the Commonwealth that are identified as limited English proficient youngsters. And our teachers, as committee members know, we've invested a lot of time and energy, and our teachers a great deal of expertise in developing their understanding of and ability to teach youngsters who are still in the process of learning English. And I'll bring to the next school committee information that we just received this week that we have met the targets the state has set for us for the progress of students learning English. So we actually exceeded the target set by the state for moving youngsters rapidly toward higher stages and higher levels of English language fluency. So I'd welcome any questions from committee members.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you to the superintendent. I just have one quick question, and it has to do with numbers 3 and 4. Because number 3 says 48% of our children have been identified as first language, not English. Number 4 says 30% of our children have been identified this year as English language learners. Are those two separate groups? Or
No.
is there an overlap?
There's an overlap, so so half of our students, the first language at home is not English. So that's 1 out of every 2 youngsters. Then almost 1 out of the 3 youngsters, so that's a portion, a majority of those
That-
half of the
okay.
students are youngsters who are still in the process then of developing fluency, full academic fluency in English. But those are not, you don't add those numbers together.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sure. Madam Superintendent.
I want to just say that more clearly. 60% of the youngsters in Lowell whose first language is not English are not yet fluent, fully fluent academically in English.
Okay. So approval, okay. Yeah, okay. So approval of the report? Move for approval? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Do I
Okay.
raise the first, who's seconded?
Seconded by Mr. McHugh.
Okay,
Ms. Doherty first.
okay, thank you.
The next report has to do with the visit from the Educational Quality and Accountability Office of the state of Massachusetts. That is an independent board that is charged with periodically examining school districts across the Commonwealth on a wide range of criteria. There's some 50-plus criteria that they evaluate us on. Committee members know that we hosted one of the very first visits of EQA back in 2001 when it was developing its process. In 2004, we had a full audit, and then a team returned to Lowell last week for 4 days of looking at classroom instruction, meeting with principals, teachers, members of the school committee, to do a complete look. They examined a lot of data ahead of time that's from us, and I wanted to just, we don't have the written report yet. We only have informal indications that the team was pleased with the progress that had been made on the areas that they had identified last time. And in the report you have, I outlined the core areas that were of some concern last time in 2004, as well as some of the steps that the committee and administrators and teachers have taken since that time to address those concerns, and also a tool that we developed with administrators to help them remember what had been going on since 2003, 2004, which was the last year that the EQA team had come to visit. So we're eagerly looking forward to their report. We are hopeful that we'll get, once again, some useful information that will help all of us focus and target work over the next several years. I think it's particularly useful to have, for the new superintendent, to have this kind of a comprehensive look, because there will be at least some useful information that will come out of it, I'm sure.
Any discussion? Move, Ms.
Move
Doherty.
approval.
Move for approval, seconded by Mr. McHugh. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Madam Superintendent.
And then the committee has seen a preschool transportation report. Welcome any additional questions or comments about it.
Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to have this report sent to the Transportation Subcommittee so that we could discuss what our alternatives are to this whole issue about transporting our preschool children to school. I realize, $350,000 is a lot of money to come up with in shrinking budgets, but I think we need to really look at some options. So, I don't know, that doesn't have to be a formal motion to just say, can we put that on the agenda for the next Transportation Subcommittee to discuss at length?
You can refer to the Transportation Subcommittee, though.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Seconded by Ms. McHugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, I'll be happy. The next report has to do with school delay and closing procedures and criteria in light of the motion. I'm happy to refer that to the Joint Subcommittee on Transportation and Safety, although I do want to make one comment, just one piece of information for the committee. After last Thursday's challenge of whether to delay or not delay, and the complication of that decision, one of the options that we did not have at that time was to release the high school early and still have buses available to take them home, because of that, of course, that's done in coordination with the Lowell Regional Transportation, the LRTA, and we were concerned about releasing high school students without LRTA buses to take them home. But since then, our transportation coordinator, Mr. Dakota, has worked with staff from the LRTA, and we have established a protocol. They have figured out that they're able, if we can notify them by 9 a.m., that they will be able to get buses to the high school for a noontime dismissal. They don't have any flexibility about, couldn't be earlier than noon, it can't be afternoon. But at noon, they would be able to get a sufficient number of LRTA buses to the high school so that youngsters could be brought home. So that's an option that we now have, and so we will be able to exercise that in the future should there be a situation comparable to last week's, where it would be really preferable to be able to have high school youngsters get home, since so many high school youngsters provide childcare for younger siblings. And so for them to be able to get home before the younger siblings get home, that really is a critical safety factor. So it gives us another option that we did not have last Thursday. So I just wanted to let the committee know that and welcome the chance to, at a joint subcommittee meeting of safety and transportation, review the procedures, the policies, and welcome committee insight into ways that we could improve.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Just quickly, through you to the superintendent. Obviously, this is a complicated issue, and when the two committees meet to discuss it further, I wonder if you could provide some kind of historical information for us. In other words, I was speaking to some staff people at one of our schools recently, and they talked about what happened years ago if we did have an early release. As my colleague mentioned, that you might have a first grader waiting on the porch indefinitely for mom and dad to come home. And I want to know how the district handled early release, given that that was one of the challenges that it faced. If we were going to look at changing our policy, I'd want to kind of have some historical perspective on what are some complications. As it happens, you change one thing and then there might be something else that arises from that. So as we move forward to get this joint subcommittee together and really discuss this issue, whatever kind of historical information you can provide. I know that there's some data that was collected, for instance, in terms of what happens if we have a delayed start time, that attendance data was looked at. When we start school 2 hours late, we had 1/3 of the students not show up, which is a complete lost day, really, in learning for everybody, pretty much. As opposed to calling school off, you get the learning later in June. So just that kind of and I leave it to your discretion, but some historical context as we look at trying to come up with something that really does, benefit all of our children as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. It is, as Committee Member Fataconte and as you have said, it's a complicated issue of balancing risks, and it's a very complicated issue. And the default position that we've taken is to keep school in almost all circumstances, to start school on time and end it on the time that parents expect it to end, for a whole host of reasons about safety. But I did want to let the committee know that. Because the committee had a role in this when you authorized the bid for the new transportation contract last year, you put a provision in about securing a GPS system. And I want to tell you that it was extraordinary last Thursday what Mr. Dakota was able to do in collaboration with principals between email and GPS. He was able to pinpoint the location of a bus at any given moment. We were able to identify when families were very anxious. That we were able to pinpoint, Jose is on bus 47, and it's at the intersection right now of this street and this street. We expect that the bus should be there in 25 minutes. It was extraordinary, and we were able to, although there were significant delays, we were able to get every youngster home safely. We were able to use the Family Literacy Center for the handful of youngsters whose parents could not be there, the little kids who could not be there. So it was an extraordinary, that tool made all the difference for us in being able to assure student safety. And I don't want to minimize the anxiety and the worry that families have when there's snow and when transportation and when there's gridlock. I don't want to minimize that was a scary and frightening time for families, but I do want to report that the GPS system was a huge help to us in assuring the safety of youngsters through that process. So I want to thank you for being so forward-looking in that transportation bid.
Thank you. Move for approval. Okay. Ms. Fattacani, second. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, the one other item under superintendent reports is the draft school year calendar for 2008-2009. This is the time of year we typically adopt a calendar because this gives families and staff early notice of the plan for the school year, so I would recommend committee adoption.
Move approval.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Fattacani, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mayor Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin. Yes. Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent. Approved.
Thank you. Under new business, we have salary adjustments for non-affiliated staff. What's the wish of the body?
Move approval, Your Honor.
By Ms. Fattacani, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mayor Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin. Yes. Mr. McHugh.
Yes. 6
yeas, 1 absent. Approved.
Under convention conference requests, we have 5 requests.
Take them in as a group, Your Honor. Move approval.
Okay. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mayor Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin. Yes. Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent. Approved.
Point of personal privilege, Your Honor. You've done a wonderful job tonight.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh?
Yes, can I have a point of personal privilege tonight to...
No.
I appreciate that very much. You did a wonderful
Mr.
job
McHugh.
up there. 22 errors, but we'll get over that. You know, I guess I wanted to save my remarks to the end because I think, you know, it's to me, like, it is bittersweet. It's been 10 wonderful years here, and I have to tell you, I mean, it's gone by really fast. I mean, I've Connor sitting here with me, and when I come on the committee, he was going into kindergarten. I mean, you know, here he is going to the high school next year, and I'm proud of it. So I think that's the start. But I first like to thank the voters of Lowell for allowing me to represent them and serve on the Lowell School Committee for 10 years. It's been an honor and a pleasure to represent all the children of Lowell. I'd also like to especially thank my family, Lisa, my 2 sons, Connor and Evan. They have had to put up with me not being home as much as they would really like, since there are many nights when I would be attending subcommittee meetings, negotiations, we all know those went very late, as well as the regular school committee meetings. It was always tough to come home and every so often hear the boys say, "Dad, do you have a meeting tonight?" And I'd have to say yes. So that was always something I had to deal with. Well, guess what? I'm going to have a lot of free nights now. So I look forward to spending more quality time with my family and being around the house at evenings. And, you know, I'll watch you guys on TV once in a while for entertainment purposes only. And I'll be laughing, saying, I think I'll go watch Jeopardy for a little while. Over the last month, I've had some time to reflect back on what I'll miss most. And I also had a chance to review what were some of my accomplishments. I appreciate the video tonight. It was really so I knew it was coming, and I'm telling you, it was just to sit back. I was humbled and kind of, maybe, just taken back by all the things that were put in there and nice things that were said by the number of individuals. But as most folks know, I've been a proponent of moving disruptive children from the classrooms. That's one thing I've continued to talk about since I first started. Because when I first was elected to the committee had just approved the first alternative middle school program. And, I'm proud to say today that that's moved on to a larger middle school program, then it went to an alternative high school program, and as you saw in the video, the elementary program. I mean, we are dealing with the children that need help. But as I've always said, and it was always been a campaign slogan, is that, by removing those disruptive children, we've allowed the teachers to teach and the children to learn. And I believe that, because when a teacher has to stop to deal with Johnny or Sally for 5, 10, 15 minutes, all the other kids are sitting there just watching. Nothing's happening. It's just like they're not there. So I firmly believe that's one of the cornerstones for education, is to allow the learning to happen in the classroom. So I'm proud of that. I'd also like to personally thank Carla Brooks-Bear for implementing a new reading and math program. I've also always believed that we need to focus on the basics: reading, writing, and arithmetic. The new programs have allowed longer learning blocks in reading and math, and Connor was part of the pilot program at the Greenouge when it first was implemented. It was one of the targeted schools that was identified and needed it. So I've seen this program work, and I'm proud to say he reads every night. I know that's tough to say. He enjoys reading, and my other son, Evan, who's here tonight as well, he reads every night. And I think that is something that has been instilled with our programs that we put in place as a committee, as the committee. That's our role. So I really, looking back, saying those are big accomplishments. I was going to talk about the uniforms, but I know Connie's a big proponent of it, and John, so I just said I'll let that go for tonight. But I think I was always willing to try new things. And I think that's one thing I encourage everyone to think about. Try new things. It doesn't hurt. If it doesn't work, or people don't feel it work, as they did with the uniforms, they moved on and said it's not working in our eyes. The committee as a whole felt that it was something to take a different direction. It happened, and I'm okay with that. But you know what? We tried something. I've always tried to be fiscal responsible, and I think we get to the budget season, you ask, and I always say January is my report month, because I ask for a lot of reports in January, knowing it takes 30, 60 days to get them. But I've used those reports as a tool to go through the budget process to identify what are the priorities, what's working, what's not working, because as we know, the last few years, the budget has been very tight, and we've been forced to make decisions. And I think those reports have been very helpful in me trying to be fiscally responsible and making sure that I'm looking at the right programs that may need to be trimmed back or cut. I know one other thing I always had is, if possible, never rip the roots of a program out if it's working. Try to keep it something there, because it's easier to grow it back. If you eliminate it, it's very tough to get it back in a budget. So just words of wisdom, I guess, at this point. I've also been part of developing the other new programs that are very successful. When I first came on, the Latin Lyceum wasn't my brainchild, but I was part of developing that. And I'm telling you, I am very proud of that. I think that that's something that's attracted students to stay in the Lowell school system. When I first come on, you always used to hear kids saying, I'm not going to Lowell High, or parents say, I'm not just sending my child to Lowell High. Why? I think this committee over the years has worked hard at Lowell High School to make it a first-class school, and I think programs such as that, as well as the academies, to make it seem like a smaller building, have worked and need to continue to be worked. I still believe there's more work there to be done, but I think it's heading in the right direction. So I'm proud to be part of that as well. I would have to tell you, Ms. Bond's sitting with her picture tonight of the ROTC. I have to tell you one thing that's really I remember the most is, I think it was a little over a year ago, and we went to, I think Mr. Leahy, and I think Mr. Leary was there as well. We went to the Memorial Day services. The ROTC was there, and we stood out in the courtyard, and it was so impressive to march through. There was a general that was in attendance, and afterwards we had a little coffee over at the restaurant. I had a chance to talk to him, and he said to me, he says, this was very impressive. I've been around the country, and I have to tell you, I would rank this program as one of the top programs in the country. And here we are. These kids have been lucky to stand on the Fenway Park twice and gain 1. I mean, that just shows you, I think somebody made the point that you don't see the ROTC program of Boston or anyone else. It's the Lowell School ROTC program on Fenway Park. I think we're all proud of that, and I want to commend them for all the hard effort and work they've done. They've done a great job. It gives kids an alternative. I think that gives them some discipline, gives them some structure that maybe they need in their lives, and also something to achieve and be proud of. So I have to mention that. And one last thing at the high school I've always been proud of is when you go to the graduation, you sit up on the stage and you people used to say, like I always said, I don't want to go to Lowell High School. Where am I going to go? But you hear kids going to Harvard, Yale, MIT, Boston College, Holy Cross. It's there. The opportunity is there for every student to be the best they can be, to attain the highest school they can go to if they apply themselves. So I really believe that. I think that it's exciting. It's an exciting school. It's a diverse school at the high school. It can be the melting pot, but that's good. I think that's really good. So just thinking back, I had to reminisce about some of those items, and I thought those were just some of the highlights that I would briefly talk about. And I also want to take a few moments also to thank the current and past administration. But first I want to thank June Cormier. June's kind of behind the scenes. We know we call our motions into June, and she does a wonderful job. You need a report or you ask for something, June's the one that quietly, for the folks at home, that kind of gets us all the information and gets the package together so we get them on Friday night in a timely fashion and deals with all our issues that we bring up. So I have to say thank you very much to June for all your years of working with us as well. But I'd also like to thank George Zapasaris. George, I know you're at home watching because you watch all the time. So I just want to say hi, George, and nice to see you again. But no, I won't forget George. George was a good superintendent. My memories of George is when I first got elected, this big box showed up on my front stairs. I was like, what is this? And it was policies and this. I think he just wanted to bury us in information so we would be overwhelmed and not ask any questions. But I appreciate that. He was very willing to work with us and help us through those first when you became a rookie and get involved in the schools. I also want to thank Deputy Superintendent for Curriculum Jim McMahon, Deputy Superintendent Helen Flanagan, as well as Deputy Superintendent Ted Rorak. I put him as a past because he has retired, but seems like he's still out there. It doesn't seem like he's gone, but we know he's been gone about a year now. But I need to tell you, I recently, about 2 weeks ago, I ran into Ted, and I was going to Dunkin' Donuts, and I had a few minutes, and I said, Ted, do you got it? He was walking out with his coffee, and I says, do you got a second? We can sit down and chat for a minute. And he says, no, I got to go to work. I says, go to work? And he kind of says, oh yeah, I have a job. And I says, what? And he says, I'm babysitting my grandchild, and that's a full-time job. So I said, you have your priorities in the right spot, but and I appreciate that, and he's been a lot of fun, a good sense of humor, and I've enjoyed the years of service working with him as well. But I need to remind him, Christmas is next week, and he needs a haircut. So I hope you're watching, Ted. I'd also like to thank the current staff. Deputy Superintendent Gene Franco, it's been great working with you. Assistant Superintendent Kenny Rogers Lang, wherever he is. Assistant Superintendent Susan Mulligan and Assistant Superintendent Ann Murphy. It's been great. You're a good team. I enjoy our subcommittee meetings, and I appreciate your kind words tonight as well. And I would like to especially thank our current superintendent, Carla Brooks-Bear. I'd like to personally thank Carla for her dedication and hard work to make the Lowell school system what it is today. Carla has set high standards for our children and our staff. I know all her decisions have been made with the idea of what's best for our children. As a parent, I'd like to say thank you, and it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm also proud to hear today that you've been named a finalist for the Commission of Education. I know you will represent all the needs of all the children of the whole state, not just the city of Lowell. So I wish you well in that endeavor, and I hope that comes true. Now I get to the good part. I'd like to, thank you, Connie. I'd like to thank all the school committee members I've also been so lucky to serve with. I first need to go back and thank Catherine Stocklosa, Catherine was a very sweet lady and always wanted the best for the children of Lowell. I'll never forget that. I mean, that's my first impression when I first came on, and she was a wonderful lady. I also won't forget George Kula Harris. I'm sure George is probably out there watching too. George always raised the important issues, whether we agree with him or not. I mean, he made you look at him, and it was some difficult things, but I've always thought about it. I'd like to thank Bill Topia. Bill is, some people, we sometimes call him Uncle Bill. Bill was good. I learned a lot from Bill. I learned a lot how to work through the committee and make things happen. But more importantly, Bill made you think globally about the issues. He wanted to say, if you do this, how is it going to affect the city of Lowell, affect the school department? How is it going to be from the big picture, not just what the little thing you're trying to accomplish? So I won't forget that, and I always look forward to his words of wisdom, I'll call them, and it really is good advice. He's always got the city of Lowell first in his mind and how he can make it a better service. So I appreciated our talks together. I also need to personally thank Tim Golden. I will never forget my first term being elected, and we all know we all sit alphabetically, and I'll never forget this. Alphabetically, I was supposed to sit right there where Jim Leary is, and Kay was sitting here, and George Kula Harris would have been over there, and George Kula Harris picked up my name tag and says, "You sit over here." I sit over there. And I said, "Okay." And I remember every time we had a roll call, up here, we're hearing June saying, "Oh my gosh," because it was like over there, over here, it was all messed up because we weren't always in order, and I know it messed her up as well. So I'll never forget that. But I had the good fortune of sitting next to Tim, and I have to tell you a couple things about Tim. Tim and I have become very good friends, and I mean, he's always in your ear, the whole meeting. You're like, I'm trying to pay attention what we're talking about. So that was one thing, and I learned a couple things. Tim had a lot of passion for athletics, really, really did. I mean, we talk about tradition. Tim bleeds tradition at Lowell High School. Having been a former student, a wrestler, an accomplished wrestler going on to college in wrestling, he really, in my mind, makes you see what Lowell High School sports are all about. I had lucky to share the subcommittee on athletics with Tim, and once Tim did leave, I cherished that, and I asked to be the chair of that. And one of the subcommittees I really enjoy the most is athletics because it's fun. And try to make our program the best program it can be. So I'm also very proud of having had the opportunity, as well as my colleagues, to support me in naming the weight room after Tim. It's just that dedication he had and that passion he has to make it the first-class facility for our students. I felt it was something I wanted to thank him for his years of service as a committee person, and I won't ever forget that. One little note is, again, when you sat next to him, he had a tendency to forget his reports. So when I first been on, I have my report, and this is what I'm going to say, I'd write on the column and everything else, and he'd say, "Hey, do you get that report on discipline?" You say, "Yeah, here you go." You never got it back. And he'd talk, and then he's reading my notes. I'm like, but Tim's still a friend of mine, and I appreciate that, but those are some of the things that I remember the most about serving with Tim. I'd have to tell you, we've been lucky to serve with Eileen Donahue, a very classy lady. She respected everybody's opinion, and I won't forget that. She always allowed everyone ample time to speak. I know, we understand they have Tuesday night meetings when we be here Wednesdays. I can only imagine 2 nights of this is got to be, a grind. So she did 4 years with us, so it had to be a real grind. But I appreciate her ability to let us have the ability to talk when we came on Wednesday nights. I also served with John McQuaid. John's still a friend of mine. I think, I talked to Jimmy Leary about this. One thing I'll never forget, the friendships that I made. And I'm still friends with John. I still talk to him on a periodic basis. John only did serve, I believe, as one term with us, but I won't forget him. Joe Mendonça as well. Joe is still a friend of mine. I think his dedication and service to the schools, he had everything in the right heart and worked very hard to make the high school science labs and, technology. Went with me on the technology committee to make sure we were continuing to not forget about that. I won't forget that as well. Also, Rita Mercier. I mean, Rita Mercier always tried to work to make the schools better too, and I won't forget that. I always enjoy saying hi to Rita as well. I'm in Mercia. I have to tell you though, I wish Armin was here. I would have been done in about 45 minutes. I mean, you know, I have to tell you, what I remember the most of Armin, he was like an auctioneer. Hey, you got a motion, and if you didn't get your hand up quick enough, I have to tell you, gavel, next meeting, and we were out of here. I think we were running about 45-minute meetings there for a while. It was the funniest thing. We were like, whoo! And my wife say, how long did the meeting go? Not too long. Why are you home so late? Well, I don't know. I don't know what happened. So, but those are some of the moments I won't forget. Bill Martin, you know, Bill's been a good mayor for the city of Lowell. He's had a lot of issues he had to deal with. He didn't speak too often with us, but as far as issues, but when he spoke, it was very intelligent, right to the point, and it made you really step back and say, wow, yeah, I see where he's coming from. So I think that's something I won't forget about Bill. Well, that's the past. I think I covered everybody. If I didn't, I apologize. Hopefully I got everybody that we worked together with over the 10 years. Now it brings me to my esteemed fellow colleagues. First I'll go with Jimmy Leary. As Jimmy said, Jimmy's become a good friend. I met Jimmy during his first run and, you know, started to get to know him then and at the end of the campaign. And, you know, I applaud his efforts and encouraged, you know, as well to run again and gave him some tips how to, I think, get on the board. I mean, I'm not afraid of anyone running for the city. I think it's healthy for the city of Lowell to get new blood and have people try it. So I have to tell you, I think that, you know, Jim truly wants the best for the Lowell school system. But I have to forewarn him, Jim working in the business world where change can happen very quickly, I have to keep reminding him that it doesn't happen quickly in government. So I told him it's like turning the QE2 around. Doesn't happen fast. We got to deal with that. So Jim, just keep up the good work and take a deep breath. Change will happen. I remember when Jackie Doherty was first elected to the board. Jackie was very nervous, and she really wanted the best for the city of Lowell and the children. Jackie has also never been afraid to say what she feels in order to make a point on trying to improve our schools. I've always told Jackie, you know, you need to talk from the heart, and don't be afraid of you know, what's going to happen if that's what you believe. So, Jackie, keep up the good work. With the challenging times ahead, your voice will be needed. What can I say about my friend sitting up there? Stand up, please, John, in the big grown-up chair. John Leahy. I think John Leahy should be the mayor of the city of Lowell. As a matter of fact, I think I'll nominate you as the mayor, John. John has a heart of gold. John has worked very hard to have the schools work together with the city departments. John's goal is to get everyone in the city working together. You know, kind of like, can't we just group hug and hang out? But, you know, he really means it, and I know he does. And I wish him, he's made a lot of efforts. The Unity Breakfast was originally your idea. I'll give you credit for that. But I need to tell you, but I have to tell you a story. And there were many of them, but this one it's my memory, I'll never forget. John says to me, he says, one day he comes up, he says, I couldn't believe this. And I won't say the school. He goes, you know, he works in town, and we all know he owns his own business and has that flexibility to pop in and surprise principals. Hi, I'm here. Well, went to a school and went in, and he had his work clothes on, so he's got his painting outfit on, and he's going in. Look at him laughing. He knows what I'm going to say. Goes into the office, and they said, oh, good, you're here. Come with me. So he's, okay, so he follows them. They take him into the basement and said, there's the boiler. How soon are you going to get it fixed? And he stood there in astonishment. Do you know who I am? I don't know. I'm on the school committee. I'm not here to fix the boiler. I want to meet with the principal.
I was there for the school play. I was fixing the boiler before I knew it.
But
I got it running now.
This is my time now. You be quiet. But I just, it was a classic moment. That's all I can say. So, I mean, I have to tell you. So, John, guess what? I hear they have problems with the Riley School boiler. Can you shoot over there and take a look at it? What will I remember about Connie Martin is when she first got elected, I'd be sitting, I think I was sitting over there, and she'd start talking, and all of a sudden, Joe Madon's would be sitting next to me, and she, you know, and you're listening, and she started using these words, and I'm going, what the heck did she just say? And then Joe figured it out. Oh, that was the word of the day. So we got that down. So we got beyond that. But you know, having sat next to Connie for a few terms now, you know, I enjoy her company. We enjoy talking, and you know, we get to, over the summertime, talk how bad our golf games are, and get to talk about that when something else is going on at the same time. So I won't forget that, and I enjoyed her company all these years sitting next to me, and staying friends as well. So I look forward to continue the friendship that we've developed. Well, who have I missed? This leaves me with the dean of the school committee. Regina has a wealth of experience and knowledge. But as Regina kind of alluded to in the nice video, I have it written down, so we're on the same wavelength, as you can see. You know, we've had an opportunity being on the committee to go to a number of conferences, and there's one thing, Regina knows where the best restaurants are. We've always gone out and had great times eating at great restaurants, and including breakfast places, as a matter of fact, I think, too, right? So I'll leave you with this one statement, Regina. All I can say to you is there's one queen in the kitchen, and it's not you. So with that, I'll let that end on that one. So you know what I mean. Now, you know, it is the Christmas season, and you know, everyone's in the giving mood. And I thought, you know, tonight might be a great gesture. You know, I could make a motion right now, I thought, to ensure that the upcoming teacher contracts would go very quickly. You know, I could say right now, I see Paul George is still here. Paul, you know, I can make a motion that we just give you a new contract with a 4.4 increase. Is that something you think would be a great Christmas present for the teachers? We can get that signed right now, you know? Move on, and all the folks out home be happy, you know? And that'd make your life with the superintendent search that much easier, so, no. Well, I guess that's it for kind of joking around. I guess on a serious note, what else can I say? I will leave here tonight with a lot of wonderful memories. I have served on the committee. I sit here and think, if I never took the initiative to run for office, I would have never met so many great people in the city of Lowell. And I will truly want, a lot of these people truly want the best for the city and for the Lowell Public Schools. So I sit back and reminisce that, you know, the friendships, the people I've met, it's something I'll never, ever forget. And I will truly cherish the friendships I've made with all the folks I've been involved in. So in closing, I will ask each committee member to keep the children in Lowell in mind while you make decisions regarding our schools in the future. I'm still a parent of 2 children who are attending the schools, and it's a great school system. And I will be involved in some way or another, so I'm not going to disappear into the woodwork. I think that I truly believe that we need to continue to move these schools forward, and I ask that you keep that as part of your mission as well. And again, I want to thank all the voters, I want to thank all the staff, all the people I've worked with, and I apologize if I missed anybody, but again, thanks for the great 10 years. Thank you. Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Mayor, or whatever I can call you now, I'll make the motion
Either
to
one.
adjourn the meeting tonight.
Second.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
And to all a good night.
8:20. I'm an hour behind.